everyone. Thanks for joining us here at Book Blather. If you're new here, I'm Dave. This is Olive, and we mostly talk about books. How you doing? You okay? You all right there? Olive's got another injury. So Olive just turned 6 on Sunday, right? Olive just turned 6, not a baby anymore. Those of you that have been following her travels, she had injured her leg, tore her knee ligament, and then she got better after months of like rest and gradual rehabilitation, stuff like that. She seemed to have re-injured it now a couple weeks ago, so now we're like back to like full bed rest, which is a major pain in the neck carrying her everywhere. Now today, she just injured her other leg, so I don't even know. She can't even walk now. I don't even know what the story is. I have to talk to Mama when she gets home. I don't even know what happened. So I apparently injured it running around outside, I guess. That's the story. So anyway, so we're here to review a couple books. So we are knee deep into our holiday reading. If you saw our last video, you know that we are only reading Christmas stuff in December. But we have a couple books we read that in November that we haven't told you about yet. So we want to tell you about those. So these are both very recent books, and they are also they're very unusual, very disturbing books in different ways. So let me tell you about them. So the first one, which was just a really interesting surprise, is 98.8 by Krista Candela. Okay? So this book we hadn't heard about even until not that long ago, and we picked up this book because we heard, once again, Caitlin over at Spill the Reads talking about this. Or not just talking about this book, she did a post where she had tears on her face holding up this book. And so I saw that, I'm like, what did this book do that made Caitlin cry? You know, so I'm like, doesn't look that long. Maybe I should get it. So I got it. Really glad we did. So this was published in 2025, and this is actually an indie book. This is independently published, and I've had not always had the best results with indie stuff, but this was great. And this is one of the most memorable books of this year for us, I think. Right, Olive? So what this book is about is it's told mostly from two perspectives. You get a little bit from a third person's perspective, but it's mostly told in these two voices. And so there's Oliver, and so Caitlin said, like, some people consider Oliver's identity to be a twist. So we always try to make our videos non-spoilery. I don't know how that could be because the cover pretty much gives it away. So I don't know how it could be a twist, but apparently it was for some people. So I'm going to talk about it. So if you don't already know Oliver's identity from the cover, then now's the time to shut off the video because it's going to spoil it for you. But I don't know, it's pretty clear. So here we go. 3, 2, 1. Okay, so Oliver is a chimp, and the other character is Mama, and Mama is his human mother, and so it's told in each of their voices. It goes back and forth, and you see there's also a caseworker for this, so you get a little bit of just a little peek into this sort of culture of this sort of like fringe, I guess, activity of people that adopt these cute baby chimps and treat them as a child. And so you see a couple other characters in here, and one of them is this caseworker Kim, I think was her name, and you see a little bit from her perspective, a little bit in her voice, but not much. Almost the whole thing is in Oliver's and Mama's voices. And so the thing is about when you get a baby chimp and dress them up in cute little outfits and they look really cute, chimps, like everything else, grow up and become big chimps. And so that's what the story is about. It's mostly, it's primarily taught in their voices. It's told in present day, but you get a lot of glimpses, from the past. And so you got this weird story where it's told from the perspectives of these two incredibly unreliable narrators. And this was so unique because one of the voices is from a chimp, right? And it's called 98.8. The title is that because chimps share 98.8% of our genes, right? So you're getting this perspective from this chimp who's now grown but is still like a child, and like a very immature child, right? So he understands very little of what is actually going on. So he doesn't understand why certain things are the way they are, and he doesn't understand how things have changed, why things have changed as he's gotten bigger, right? And the conditions and the nature of the relationship with him and Mama have changed. And then you have Mama, who she has adopted, Oliver, and raised him as a child because she has her own issues that you learn a little bit about her past as time goes on, and things that have happened to her have only exacerbated her issues. So, but she is very possessive of Oliver, very much loves Oliver, and she knows what's best for Oliver and what to do. And so crazy stuff happens, and it's really disturbing when it was so unique, these two voices, hearing this story in these two voices, and I thought it was pretty amazing. It's told in the voices of these unreliable narrators. So this is not like great prose that you're going to see in this book, right? It's told in these two characters' voices, but it was for that it was written well, and it was really, really unique. And there were obviously, as time goes on, parts get more and more disturbing, and you have this chimp that has grown and is experiencing all these changes and is upset and doesn't understand why, and doesn't have the same kind of control that a human does, and he's confused. And then you have this Mama that kind of loves deeply but also has issues, and so she's got her own perspective on things that is different to what other people think, and she's not going to listen to anybody else because nobody else knows as good as she does because she is Oliver's Mama. And it's really disturbing, and I guess I can say without it's not spoiling too much, there is some violence, and it's heartbreaking. It really is heartbreaking, and now I know why it made Caitlin cry. But it was. I will highly recommend this. I thought it was just I just described it to you, so it depends whether that's your kind of story or not. But if that sounds interesting to you, I think you would really like this. It's really good. It's not that long, and yeah, it was really good. This was a really nice surprise for an indie book. Okay. Then the other one, this one is you're going to find on the shelves of every. It's the exact opposite of indie. You're going to find it on the shelf of every major bookstore. This is Black Flame by Gretchen Felker-Martin. So Felker-Martin has become kind of big. There was Manhunt. There was a lot of buzz about Manhunt, and Cuckoo. I think Cuckoo may even won an award. And so so I haven't read any of those books, but we were walking through the Strand actually when we met Chaz and from Bookish Chaz. We had a booktube meetup. Chaz from Bookish Chaz and his partner, and Chris from Chris Reviews, and Joe from Book Buds. And so we met up. We took Chaz to the Strand because he hadn't been there before. And I saw this just on the table in the Strand because this is also a new release, 2025. And I hadn't read any of Felker-Martin's previous stuff, but this I know that people really do like that author's stuff, and I read because of the cover. Look at that cover. I read the back, and the cover made me pick it up. I read the back, and the back sounded really interesting, and so it sounded unique again. So I picked this up. And so this is a very different kind of book. So basically what this follows is there's this character, Rachel. And so she's our main character. And So she's an archivist, and she works for a small outfit that restores old damaged films, and they get brought, but this old German guy brings them this film called The Baroness that was thought to be lost in like a Nazi fire. Okay, it's from back in the 30s, and but it wasn't. It was found, and it had been in the possession, I think, of some Nazi official that then died, and so they bring it to her company to restore it. So she is basically charged with restoring this, and when she does, so the film is basically cursed, and she gets cut by the film when it's in one of the machines. That happens early, and then there's all this history and bad stuff behind this film, and so it's explicit, and she starts to have basically she starts to experience some things, and she starts to see a lot of things, and so I don't know. The book was okay, actually. I was a little surprised. I expected it to be awesome based on what I heard. I heard about the other books and what I read on the back. I didn't love the book, but I wouldn't tell anybody not to read it. It was a book. I didn't love it, but probably still worth a read if you're into horror, especially weird horror, because it was very unique. There was, a lot of it had to do with, a lot of it has to do with Rachel and her identity. And so, the people that had made the film where, they were, outcast or prejudiced against in Nazi Germany, because I think they were Jewish, and they were what would have been considered sexual deviants at the time. And so they made this film and then got like rounded up, right, like when the film was done or getting done or whatever. And so they experienced this tragedy, the actors in this film. And then Rachel is Jewish, and Rachel is really, really struggling with her sexual identity. And so she's living a life that's not her. She's living a life just working this job with a boyfriend that her mother set her up with, and her mother's really strict, proper, woman that is not living in this century, and is very like intolerant of things that Rachel just had psychological problems, as opposed to just dealing with her own, understanding her own identity and who she is. So Rachel's Jewish, and Rachel has had this bad experience of having her, sexual identity repressed, and so I think there was it's one of those books that I feel like it had a lot to say, but I had a difficult time wrapping my head around it, because obviously there was this analogy between Rachel and Rachel's experience in life and these actors from this movie that she's restoring. And so in the process of all this, she's experiencing this horror. And I don't want to give away too much of the book, but she's experiencing this horror, a lot of it in relation to specifically to the movie and the people that were in the movie. And so, she sees different things, and different things happen to her, and she doesn't know what's real and what's not real, and it gets pretty intense. And so this is obviously experiencing this horror is supposed to be somehow tied to this, metaphor of, or not metaphor, but this analogy of these people that had made the film going through similar repression of identity that she is going through, just in a different environment. And so I kind of got that all that was happening, and that was there, and there was supposed to be some messaging there, but I don't know. I didn't really. I didn't really. It didn't really land for me, at least in terms of all the symbolism and what it was trying to say. So maybe that it was just above my head. You know what I mean? Or maybe just that's all. Maybe that's the extent of it. Is what I just described. You're supposed to. I guess a lot of books are written where you're supposed to that's the surface level that they give you, and then you're supposed to tease out of whatever it means for you personally. So maybe it's one of those. I don't know what Felker-Martin's intent was. I feel like there was more of an intent there than I grasped. So I just found it a little bit difficult in that way. Written really well. I mean, just in terms mechanically, written really well, and a lot of spooky scenes. A lot of, I mean, it's almost worth it just for that, just for the imagery. A lot of cool imagery in here, and intense scenes that were like, you weren't sure if they were real. She wasn't sure if they were real. So it was cool for that. So yeah, so I didn't love it. I wouldn't give it 5 stars, but probably worth reading just because it was so unique and it had these different aspects. So anyway, let me know if you read this. Do you want it? You can see that in the cover. That's one of the things that gets so there's some violence, there's some sexual stuff in there. So it's but it's not. I mean, it's not insane. So yeah, so let me know if you read this actually, or if you think you might, and then come back and let me know what you think of it, because I'm curious. I found this one a little bit of an enigma, I guess, this book. So anyway, also pretty disturbing. So yeah, so those are the 2 books that we still want to tell you about before we start talking about all our holiday reads, which we are well into already, a number of things. But yeah, so 98.8 by Krista Candela and Black Flame by Gretchen Felker-Martin. As always, let us know if you have any comments about these books, or if you don't have anything substantive to say, you can always leave Olive a puppy emoji, because she does always like to see those, right? Do you see these? I know she's having a tough time even standing up. I got to carry her everywhere because she's oh my gosh, but her both her back legs now. I don't know, too crazy. She's just too crazy and nuts. It's never boring with this one. So anyway, as always, thanks so much for watching, guys. We'll see you again very soon. But in the meantime, take care of yourselves and each other, and we'll see you next time.